let's go ahead and start with the meeting. Tanya, welcome. I was worried about you for a little while, so I'm glad you feel much better, and I'm happy that you're back. So tell us what you went through. Yeah, tell us what you went through, so that way we know what to expect.
Oh, sorry. Zoom. Over talking. Sorry.
Okay.
Oh my goodness, I feel so much more alive than our previous interview for Attentive. Fredy, thank you so much for inviting me on, but primarily because you had so many inquiries, like not only my mental health or my well-being, and COVID, like life after COVID. Uh, it was a nightmare, you guys. If I had a mild to moderate case and it put me under the bus for a good 2 months, my heart goes out to all of those who still are in the hospital today fighting for their life. I'm into the ER after when I was tested positive. The doctor basically said, go into the ER just to make sure, and I did. And the doctor, you know, basically I was in there for about 4 to 6 hours. The doctor came in and out, but it's not like your usual visit. Anytime that a nurse came in to take my vitals, anytime the doctor came in, I was witnessing them disrobing all of their, you know, their protective gear, all their PPD and just everything in order to make sure that I was safe. So, you know, all the healthcare providers that are out there who are in the ER, it's not like, hey, I'm going from one patient to another. This is why materials and, you know, monies are so needed for all of the materials that the hospitals need. Because I witnessed it firsthand. They came into my room probably 5, 6, 7 times throughout the duration, and every single time they had to disrobe. They came into my room, they took what they had off, and then in my room, and then they would exit and go to the next patient. So I mean, what we see on television, on the news, I witnessed it firsthand. My hat and patience goes off to all of those who are, you know, working the lines of this whole ordeal. You know, even though cities, counties have opened up, we cannot get comfortable. I have an 89-year-old mother, hence the reason why actually my father, he had Alzheimer's, and we were the primary caregivers between 5 and 8 years. And now that he passed July 3rd, I think it'll be 5 years. My dad was 91 when he passed, so it's like, I'm good with that. But now I've got an 89-year-old mother who's at home, and she literally, I have to share this. She sent me this picture of a squirrel in her backyard. Okay, I don't know if you can, but this is how we share stories and experiences. I've got to be, you know, we can't get too comfortable. We are getting too complacent, too comfortable. We still need to exercise caution and be very, very careful of where we are, who we interact with. So fast forward, I think I was tested 3 times positive, 2 or 3 times. I can't even remember anymore because it was just like, all I know is that I was in my little 1-bedroom apartment for 2 months, and I didn't even open up the window because there are children who live below me. There are children who live across the alleyway from me. I did not have fresh air really for a good 2 months because I didn't want to be selfish. I felt that, hey, you know what? I could really use some fresh air, and God knows I need fresh air. But in this day and era, I mean, even wearing a mask, I mean, does that protect the children who live literally right next door and below me? So I really chose not to be selfish. I'm going to coop up in my little 1-bedroom apartment and just do my life. But during that time, you know, being a mental health and wellness advocate, especially mental illness, mental health, domestic violence advocate, I was scrolling and perusing through Facebook, through Instagram, through, you know, just all media, all, you know, the social media. And people were really suffering with anxiety and depression. And so here I am, Fredy, and thank you for giving me the opportunity to really share this. For some reason, I have little bouts of depression. I think my first one really came from when my first friend came to visit me, my friend from San Diego. She now lives in Newport, but we go way back. And she brought me like chicken and pasta, and I was so grateful. But after when she left, I got so depressed. I'm like, oh my God. And then I got anxious. I'm like, because I got a taste of the outside world. Even though my sister came, you know, she came to drop items off, food items with my mom ever so often, but it would be a knock on the door. I'd wait a few minutes, and Denise and my mom would be, you know, about 15 feet away from me. But seeing a friend was a little, it grabbed my heart. And I will say, I got depressed and I got anxious, and I was like, I just want to touch you and hug you. And because when you're cooped up in one bedroom apartment for 2 months, knowing that you cannot go outside. I mean, you can, but I don't live a selfish life. I chose not to go outside. I chose not to open up. I would maybe like crack my, you know, my little living room window, but I chose not to go outside. Denise picked up my mail. You know, it was just, I had other people doing things for me, because I didn't want to get too comfortable, complacent, cocky in this whole thing as we're seeing today. And honestly, what we are seeing on Facebook and social media, I think I pray to God, but what I see, it's going to get worse before it gets better, because people are getting a little bit too comfortable. But Fredy, when we first spoke, I mean, literally, it's like I would have to take I would take 2 steps, and I literally would have to collapse. Like my own body could not hold me up. It was the weirdest thing. It's like we have all experienced, you know, fatigue and exhaustion or stress, but this was totally different. This was a different ball game. I felt that an elephant was sitting on my chest like every moment of every day for a good 6 to 8 weeks. I could not catch my breath. Thankfully, when I was in the ER, let's backtrack. When I was in the ER, the doctor basically said, you know, we can keep you here to monitor your breath. And I said, you know what? I honestly, I would rather go home and sleep the 28 hours that I've been sleeping. I don't know how many of you take your little power naps, which are like 20 minutes, but I would say to my mom or Denise, hey, I'm taking a nap. I'll call you in an hour. And 3 or 4 hours later, sometimes 6 hours later, I would call them. So this is like, it was a total different exhaustion, fatigue that I have never experienced. Even when I've had the flu as a young girl, I never felt what I experienced. It was really baffling. I would take 2 steps and I felt like I ran a marathon. Not like I know what that's like, but that's literally how I felt. Today, I still get short of breath. I still easily fatigue, but the short of breath is nothing like how it was. I notice my self-awareness. I'm very self-aware. I practice mindfulness. I know what my body is saying to me. I know, because your body speaks to you before you even know what is happening. Your body speaks to you. So I'm very mindful. I know now not to move quickly. not to get overly excited, and which was really difficult because the day that I came back, I was so excited to be with the staff and the patients and social interaction, something that I had been missing for 2 months. And we all were human beings. We're right. We need that social connection. And I'm a hugger. Like, so hard not to hug people. And it was so hard for me, but I noticed the Monday and the Tuesday that I came back, I gave it my all. I was excited. I pretended as if nothing had happened to me. I picked up as like where I left off. And that was a big mistake because after the 2 days, I crashed. And, some people were thinking, okay, I'm so sorry you relapsed. So many words of encouragement. Tanya, take it slow, take it easy. They were words of encouragement. Did I follow it? I guess not, because that second day came in and I crashed. And I went to my HR director and I said, now I'm hearing that you need to be tested 2 times negative before you could come back to work. I had no idea. I thought, okay, I'm feeling better. Let's just get back to work. So after that Tuesday, I crashed. And then I chose to go to Kaiser. Kaiser denied me of a negative test. Like, I got tested 2 times positive with them. And I said, you guys, I need 2 negative tests for me to go back to work. And it's not all of us, this is not just work, sit behind a desk and crunch numbers. Like, we're engaged. We care about our community. We are involved. So when I'm being told, or when my body is speaking to me like, oh my God, I can't be there for the patients or the people that I work with and work for, something's, it's not just a physical ailment, it's a mental and emotional challenge as well. So I got tested negative because through a private clinic, because Kaiser denied me of another test. So I got tested 2 times with Kaiser. And then when I crashed on that Tuesday, I think it was like actually the tail end of Monday at my job, I was like, I'm not feeling well. I'm hearing I've got to get 2 negative tests before I go back to work and keep everybody safe. And sure enough, a clinic in Laguna Niguel off of Cabot Road, he was like, yes, we are doing tests, and shame on any company that once you tested 1 time, yet alone 2 times positive for COVID, for not testing you negative. So the only negative test that I got before I went to go visit Dr. Cassidy was a phone call with my GP at Kaiser. And basically what she did was, okay, she's ready to come back to work. That wasn't enough because Tuesday I crashed. And then within 48 hours, I got tested again. And thankfully, I got tested 2 times negative. So the thing is with this whole process is it's changing every moment. It's changing every second. I don't want people to get too comfortable, especially all of us who are not only working in the senior industry, but who also have elderly parents or grandparents. Still, even today, I have gotten tested 2 times negative. My mom sends me videos of a squirrel. So I saw my mom one time on Mother's Day. So Denise, it was Denise, my mom, and myself. My sister Dominique couldn't make it, but we all had our mask on. And last night we're watching, I don't know, Netflix, Baker and the Beauty, and then this Netflix show Younger, and nothing was more priceless after 2 months being cooped up in my apartment than spending time with my mom. And even though she had her mask on, which was like a beak, and I had my medical mask on, she was 6 feet away from me. I'm closer to the TV. So, I mean, don't realize what you have until it's gone. And nothing is more priceless than spending time with my mom. It would have worked. But then I decided, or I was open to, okay, maybe like what else is there, because nothing is more priceless than taking care of my mom in the evening. And I was the primary caregiver for my mom in the evening, but it's been on Denise this entire time. And Denise has been very cognizant of not going to the grocery store. Her husband does that. So she's had no contact with me, no contact with the outside world. So everything's been very, very well contained. And I think I started doing research. I mean, it's on our Instagram, it's on our Facebook. When you live in isolation, especially as a primary caregiver or a caregiver in any sorts, it weighs on you. It's the overwhelming stress. I did it for my dad. I mean, thankfully, I never got stuck into the world of addiction or alcoholism. I did during my assault. That's a whole other story. But for right now, the world that we're living in, addiction is on high, domestic violence is on high. So this is why I want to really share self-care, that it is so critical and it's so important, not only if you are involved indirectly as a community liaison, or you are hands-on with your family member or a loved one. It is so critical, especially right now, where the cities and the counties, they started opening up, but now it's like everything's time out. Right now, we've really got to tap into self-care strategies. So whatever that looks like for you, you know, being part of, you know, outreach. Before COVID, we're out there in the community, we're touching people, we're connecting, we're calling, we're doing tours, we are socially connected. And now we're so isolated. And I just don't want, I want to encourage you to not feel it in your head, in your mind, because if I can get through isolation for 2 months, you guys can do it. But I practice self-care. So whether it's keeping your daily routine, even though when I was in COVID, I couldn't wake up, I had no problem sleeping, but I had such a hard time waking up. But when I started getting well and better, it was like, okay, I needed to show up for the world, or I chose to show up for the world. But how do I do that if I'm not well in my head? So I started tapping into self-care strategies. So what you do on a regular day, you wake up, hopefully you start the day with some sort of gratitude or meditation, you know, before your feet even hit the ground. You know, breathe. Your breath work is so critical in the world of everything: domestic violence, addiction, caregiving. Had I known then what I know now with my dad, caregiving for my dad, you know, oh my God, holy heck, I would have been at so much more peace. So tap into your self-care strategies, whatever that is. Do one thing, a couple of things a day that make your heart smile. We all have to create some sort of balance and not worry about, you know, 10 minutes from now. In fact, I had a conversation with my mom last night, and Fredy just cut me off because, you know me, I can go on and on and on. So just go. I had a conversation with my mom yesterday, and I said, we all need to tap into self-esteem and self-confidence and, you know, being open to the world, but at the same time exercising that caution and being very self-aware. My mom, and majority of you have heard my story, but my mom is like, she's not an angel, I will say that, but she is your quintessential role model for not future tripping. My mom does not worry. She's not 2 minutes ahead, 2 seconds ahead of the now. My mom has this way, this being of the right here, the right now. And I told her, I go, because she asked me, she goes, Tanya, do you ever worry about, your future? Do you ever worry about meeting someone and creating that relationship? Or are you worried about your future with, in the industry of recovery? Are you worried? And I said, Mom, I never worry. I don't worry. I may stress. I think we all stress out, but it's really, you need to define what is stress and what is worry. I don't worry because for some reason, I don't know if it's from my mom. I don't know. Well, obviously it's a God thing, but I think it's just been instilled in me. And then, of course, after my personal struggles, I've learned not to worry. And because eventually things always work out the way that they're supposed to be.
Robert, yeah, I have a 2 o'clock appointment with you.
Oh, I heard something.
Yeah, sorry, there was a background noise.
Okay. So I think we really need to, define and be really self-aware. Are we stressed or are we worried? You can be concerned because there's even a differentiation between being concerned and being worried. Worried, it creates anxiety. It creates anxiety because you're worrying about the unknown, things that haven't even happened yet. And I don't know about you, but things that I have worried about, like before I even knew this, this boundary was, oh my goodness, like 99.999% of the things that I worried about never even happened. So be concerned. It's a mindset. We can all be concerned about where we are right now, operative, right now. Don't worry about what's going to happen tomorrow. Don't worry about what's going to happen with all these projects. Don't worry about it because eventually things will work out the way they're supposed to be. The reason why I started this conversation with my mom last night is June 12th marks the 26th year of Nicole and Ron's murder. So light your candle on June 12th. But my mom basically said, we had this conversation because I'm doing a documentary with the United Kingdom on Nicole's life, and the UK really into this. So we're doing a documentary in the UK to commemorate Nicole's life. And through that, honestly, this just happened between last night and the night before. I said to my mom, I said, Mom, everything worked out the way it was supposed to work out. Even when I did the 9-hour interview on Zoom in the UK, everything worked out the way it was supposed to. Because the UK, the media always wants to provoke you. People want to provoke you, whether it's social media, 2, 4, 11, 13, 7, whatever those channels are. They want to provoke you. They want to provoke an emotion. And that is media worthy. So when I was doing this 9-hour interview via Zoom to the UK, they, as professional as they were trying to get something more out of me. Everything that happens and what is happening right now. So everything that happened 26 years ago, take Nicole and OJ out of the equation. Everything that is happening right now is happening for a reason. And moments from now, whether it's a day, 2, 5, 10 days from now, a month, a year, everything happens the way it's supposed to happen. So if we can live in that state of acceptance of the state of our union, the state of our communities, if we can just stay connected and not worry about the COVID, not the COVID, I'm not going to minimize it, aware, and that goes beyond COVID. It should be self-aware. If you are worried, if you're concerned, if you're stressed, it all comes from your mind, body, soul. So, the more you can live, state in acceptance and stay there, the easier it can be to accept what's happening right now. So as far as, caregiving in the senior industry, my mom's 89, and last night I kind of, and she has cancer. It metastasized, her breast cancer metastasized, and now it's in her bone, her bones, her spine, her sacrum. And we just kind of laughed, and my mom said, well, it is what it is. And I said, well, Mom, one day, your body's just going to shut down. But that happens with all of us. You don't need to be old to die. You don't need to be old. You don't need to be sick. You don't need to be on hospice care or home health care. You and I, we can go tomorrow. We don't know, right? So just treasure those moments. And honestly, I've always had this mindset, but I think just being cooped up in my little apartment has made me more self-aware of what's really important. And it's not social media. It's not hashtagging. You do what you do one day, one time a day, and let it be. Respond to people that, need to, post things. Fredy posts things. Jody, we'll start connecting. You like things, acknowledge people. That's important. But don't make this your life. And, I think this is kind of God's way, like I said in our last interview. I think this is God's way of saying, slow down, shut down, and, get real with what is really like important in our life. And so life after COVID, it's not different, because not always, that's pretty big, but I've always tried to live in the here and the now. I can't even tell you the last time I was worried. I can tell you when I was stressed, and it was earlier today, but I can't tell you the last time I was worried. So take your health, take your mental health very seriously. If you know people who are battling, like I said earlier, addiction, domestic violence, abuse, everything is on the increase. Suicide. I mean, we're hearing more suicide, especially like cops, first responders committing their circle. If I can't help you, or your loved one, my goodness, we are living in a world of community, social community. Please, if you see signs with anyone going down the slope of depression, anxiety, drinking too much, stressed out, lashing out, becoming violent, frustrated, pay attention to it, because at the end of the day, you guys, silence killed my sister, and that's only domestic violence. Silence killed my sister. So we all have a voice in our community. All of you are out there in the senior industry. I'm out there. I want to be more connected to the senior industry now as well. Just pay attention to the people in your life, because people are sharing their pain without actually speaking a word. So be very present for people, okay? I know that all of us are out there, promoting our business and our industry, but right now, I think the most important thing is pay attention. Please be very mindful, because people are struggling right next to you. And if we're not present and if we're not mindful, we're going to miss it. And maybe, a day, 2, or a week later, something tragic has happened. So I think with COVID-19, after COVID, I'm healthy, I'm happy, I remain in the state of self-awareness and mindfulness. But my message to you is people are speaking to you, around you, and just pay attention to that. And if you don't have the resources to help them, I have resources in mental health, addiction, domestic violence. I mean, it goes nation, international wide with my family. So honestly, if you hear somebody who's really struggling, let me know, let Fredy know. We're in this thing together, and it really goes beyond the senior industry, especially right now. So I'm going to leave it at that. COVID, for me, life after COVID, thank God I'm done. Thank God, but again, I still, I wear my mask because I don't know, this thing is effervescent. It changes all the time. I don't know if I can get it again or I can't. Somebody who didn't know they had it, who was asymptomatic, gave it to me. So just exercise caution when you're out in the community, and especially with our vulnerable seniors. So anyway, I'm going to leave it at that. Otherwise, I can go for another 2 hours. So,
of course you can.
yeah, because I'm so passionate, and not just with the senior industry, but because people struggle in every area of their life. And again, use me as a resource, because I have so many people in my tribe that can help people who are struggling. So just let me know.
Of course. Thank you, Tanya. That was awesome. All right. Now, does anybody have any questions?
Fredy?
Question. Jacob
Yes.
and I were, let me see, can you hear us? Hold on.
Yes, go ahead.
Oh, okay. You can't hear us.
Well, our biggest worry is taking that nasal test. Did they test you through the nose or saliva, or did they do blood? How did you get your 2 positive tests? I mean, negative.
It was awful. Okay, so good question. So when I first was tested, I went into Kaiser. I did the drive-through test, and they went through the nasal cavity. But I didn't feel anything. I was like, oh, that was a no-brainer. It was uncomfortable, but no big deal. Okay, but as I don't know, like about a month later, I was like, okay, well, maybe because I lost taste of smell and I lost the sense of taste and smell. Maybe it numbed everything, because when I went into that second test, it was awful. I was like, it was awful. And the nurse was like, God bless her soul. But anyway, she was like, oh my goodness, was I okay? Was I better or worse than the nurse before? And I'm like, I didn't want to say, oh my God, you were so much worse. But now I get it, because I guess something with the numbing of the taste and the smell receptors, I didn't feel the first time.
Wow.
Oh.
The second time, I was like, oh my God, it was awful. And then when I got my 2, when I went in to get my negative test, that's when they did a swab. But the nasal cavity, the first time, I was like, oh, no brainer. The second time, but now I lost all taste and smell for about 6 to 8 weeks.
Wow.
The only receptor that I was able to take was salt. That was the only thing. Can't rely on the temperature. I didn't have a temperature. I had a temperature at 7 o'clock on a Monday night of 101.5, and it went away like mid-morning on Tuesday. So anytime you go in somewhere and they're testing a temperature, it's a waste. It really is a waste, because I didn't have a temperature. I did not have body aches. I didn't have any of that. But I had this elephant sitting on my chest. I had a cough, but it wasn't a consistent cough. So remember when I shared with you in our last interview with Fredy, I don't know if all of you were on, but I went from my admissions office to the nurse's office, literally like the next door. And I was gonna, send, I needed to hand Nurse Johnny something. And he goes, why are you so out of breath? I'm like, God, I don't know. I'm so And he goes, Tanya, you need to start doing more cardio. Where'd you come from? And I'm like, next door. So we need to pay more attention, not to the temperature, not to the body aches, not to the cough, because I didn't have body aches. The only time I had a cough is when I breathed in too deep. So I spoke about, last time about doing the breathing treatments with the towel over my head, over hot boiling water, and even putting like peppermint essential oils and just breathing it. And opening up the lungs, as painful as it was for me, it was the best thing. So if you know somebody who's going through these symptoms, just the old school towel over the head, over a boiling pot of hot water with chamomile tea, some peppermint, just breathe it. We need to open up our lungs, but don't rely, if you actually work in a building with, you know, or you're visiting, you know, your institutions, don't rely on the temperature, because I didn't have one. I only had one for like less than a day. Let's not get too comfortable. Let's pretend as if this is the beginning of, you know, the whole way of life right now. We need to have that mindset, but not be worried. Just, you know, take it as if we just heard of COVID-19, all these precautions that we need to take. And let's not get too comfortable, because the second we do that, I'm compromising my mom, you're compromising your family members, you're compromising the community that you work in and the community that I work in. Again, it's social media, Fredy, right? It's hashtag Time with Tanya Brown on Instagram, Tanya Brown speaker, or Tanya Brown mental wellness coach on Facebook. You know, I'm constantly posting something. And if you, my pages are public. So if you have valuable information that you want to share it. You know, I don't, you know, as long as it's like nice and educational and preventative, I don't want politics or any of that stuff on my Facebook. But if you have, we all need to work together right now collectively. So if you have valuable information, resources, tips, tools, self-care, COVID stuff, do share it on my Facebook and my Instagram. You know, it's not about competition, it's about collaboration, and it's about education at the end of the day.
And Rick from Attentive Home Care, and we're so happy to see Tanya's doing better. Your stamina is amazing. Your positive attitude is contagious. And one other question, and you probably shared it too, actually. I think you have a new job, and I want to know, and I want to support where you're working, and also I want to know your self-care strategy, because it's working, girl.
I think my self-care strategy is just, you know, breathing, breath work, lighting my candles, putting on my aromatherapy every night. I put my lavender on the back of my neck, my temples, and under my nose. I sprinkle it on my pillows. I don't pay, I'm not on this 24/7. I need to be out in the community talking to you guys. So whether you're struggling with domestic violence, addiction, sadness, stress, chaos, whatever that is, again, I'm not profiting on anything that comes my way. You know, my employer pays me. So if you really have somebody who's struggling, let me know. I will get them the help they need. And
Great.
you know, collectively, that's where we are. That's where we need to be. That this is where we need to remain. And but life is good. But I really, Rick, honestly, I attribute it to my mother.
Yay.
I mean, there have been moments through, you know, from, you know, her cancer treatment until now. I'm like, Mom, don't you ever have a bad day? Like, literally. And my mom, when I said that the last time, she had stage 3 cancer, no hair, Dad's dying of Alzheimer's, I'm in graduate school, I had recently attempted suicide. It's like, this woman, she's, what can I say? I wish my mom would like offer herself to, you know, interviews like this so people can just grab her essence.
That would be awesome if we can have one day.
That's the next Zoom. We'll have your mom and you.
She's so private, and she always has been. But you see my mom through me, and it's living. You know, I'm not perfect. I don't live in a state of gratitude every day. I'm as messed up as everybody else on the screen. But at least I know the mindfulness to go, okay, Tanya, that's not getting you anywhere. Let's come back to what is right now. You know, you've got to feel what you're going through, stress, chaos, worry. You've got to feel it. Just don't live in there. Just don't live there. Feel it. Give yourself an hour, give yourself a day, a moment, you know, because, you know, I'm an advocate for feeling feelings. You have to give yourself permission to feel and process, but then you got to catch yourself, because if you don't, you're going to end up where I was, and it's not a pretty place. And you know, some of you are new to this team. You can find out more about me on tanyabrown.net. You know, again, I attempted a suicide in 2004. What people don't know, I attempted a suicide again last year from an, and so I've gone through it, and I'm open and I'm willing to share. So again, that's why I say, if you know somebody out there who is struggling, pay attention. Silence killed my sister, okay? Remember that. You've got to speak up. If you notice something shady going on, stress, chaos on any level, speak up, let me know, and I will find the appropriate person to attach them to, okay? So we're all in this thing together, okay? So don't live behind the happy face like everything's okay. I have positivity. I'm good now. Do I have my bad days? Absolutely. But I know how to tap in to the right now. And that's what we all need to do, is to encourage people to be in the now, to be here right now, and not future trip.
Sounds like your job is a perfect fit for you, and you have a lot of people to help. Given your life experience, you'll do very well.
Thank you. It really is. It's perfect. And, you know, keep in mind, I've got people in the center who are caregivers, okay? I've got people in the center right now who are survivors of domestic violence. I've got people in the center who are just struggling with self-identity. So it's, you know, we all battle with some sort of addiction. And when we do, there's an underlying message. There's a story, there's a trauma behind that. So I didn't deal with my trauma, and it bit me in the butt in a really bad way 2 times. So let's not let that happen to the people in your world. We're all in this thing together.
Yes, well. All right. Thank you, Tanya. Everybody have a wonderful time.
Promote yourself.
I'm sorry?
How come you never promote yourself?
Promote myself? Well, because you guys already know what I do, so.
That's what you do, Fredy.
Exactly. You guys already know exactly what we do. And I actually earlier I said that basically what we're doing, but why don't I let Rick tell us about Attentive Home Care a little bit, because he didn't get to say anything. So Rick, go ahead.
Briefly, I will. Attentive Home Care is a family-owned and operated home care company. It was started in 1999 with the help of my dad. And we very proudly have been providing the finest caregivers and companions in Southern California. And it just pleases me. I'm so proud of the people that I provide to these seniors, and also you guys as colleagues who I collaborate so much with to, you know, provide the best experience possible. So it's not just our service, it's our relationships in the community with people like Tanya, and that's why we stay connected through Zoom, because Ruben will be a solution for someone as I go about trying to problem solve for these seniors that are so vulnerable. And so I think I've always, when I came into the industry, I was in the networking aspect. There's people that have passed on, many of them. Some of them you all know, really wonderful people that have given their careers to our field, and I based my success on these relationships and the colleagues that I've developed over the last 20 years. So keep doing what you're doing, and if you do it in the way Tanya's doing it, in a very genuine and a giving in the right way, it'll come back to you tenfold, because people will feel it, that you're doing it for the right reason. And so, and involve your colleagues, because they can help you develop the best experience for your clients possible. So that's what we do. We do attentive home care through everyone, through the services that everyone can provide. They're top notch and, you know, credible, and keep the client's interests in the forefront, you know, patients first.
So basically, you guys know.
your networking groups, even though I'm not in the industry anymore, because I really miss you guys.
Tanya, you can join our groups anytime you want. You can join my meetings anytime you want.
Your service is perfect. A lot of need for what you're doing right now.
There's seniors too that have mental problems and emotional and also abuse. So no, you're the same
health.
case.
Senior mental health is the biggest neglected aspect.
Share events with me because because I've been out of the senior industry for a while, physically. So, if you hear any virtual things, let me know. Fredy knows how to get in touch with me, or you can find me on Facebook as well. Okay?
Cool. We will.
Connected.
Yeah, perfect. All right. So, well, if you guys come across anybody needing a caregiver, we're here for them at any way, and if possible, we can. So have a wonderful day, everybody. Stay safe. If you go out marching and support the marches, make sure you stay safe and leave as soon as the
wear your mask.
Wear your mask. You do not want to get the COVID or give it to anybody.
Yep.
All right.
Wash your hands.
Wash your hands. Yes. All right. Well, have a wonderful day.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye bye.
Thanks, Tanya.
You're welcome. See you soon.